Good afternoon, everybody. On this, hopefully, I'm going to try and keep it relatively short so we don't overrun too much. But it's really just a quick, well, a bit of a reminder about some of our products, and in this case, private VLAN closed user group. So they are, and the reason why, one of the reasons why we thought this is a good fit, since with the network migration in Manchester that Joe presented earlier. Obviously, these are products that we also can now make available in Manchester if there is interest. So what are these products? They're simple and straightforward layer 2 services. They are underlying also the foundation of a number of other services, i.e. our Cloud Connect service and a couple of other products that we're working on. You can have these on either your existing ports, or you can order dedicated ports for those. If you use an existing port, by default, our ports are configured as regular access ports, so there's no VLANs on it. If you order one of these services, we'll change your port into a trunk port, .1q enabled port, and present your existing peering service on a separate VLAN. You can have them as bandwidth, anything between 50 meg and 10 gig. And they're both available for people who are directly connected, or you can also order them if you're connected through one of the connections partners. As I mentioned, they're very simple. Private VLAN is just a straightforward point-to-point link between two different members connected to the same fabric, at the moment LAN 1, and will just provide a very simple service in between. By default, they are configured the same way we configure peering ports, meaning they are limited to a single MAC address, but we can increase that limit for use cases where that is required. At the moment, they also limited to an MTU size of 1500 bytes, same as peering ports. But again, very shortly, you will be able to increase that. And the reason for that is we had the demand from a number of members that, depending on the service that you want to run across this, you might want to be able to still end up having 1500 byte usable MTU. So having a larger MTU available on this service will allow you to achieve that. The charges are only for the member who orders it. So in my example here, it's member A who orders the service. He will get charged for the service. Member B, the destination of it, won't get any charges for it. And there is a number of use cases. Traditionally, the main use case that initially was there is people who want to sell transit across links. You can obviously do that across your peering port indirectly if you want to, but you have kind of the disadvantage, especially if you want to separate the traffic, even only for billing reasons. It's easier if you can do that over a dedicated interface. In this case, private VLAN is one option, but there are many other use cases that members have to use this type of service. Closed user group, very similar, just that it's for more than 2 members who want to connect to a same layer 2 instance. So the member who is ordering it, we create a layer 2 instance for you, and any other member who wants to join this can simply request to participate in that same layer 2 service. Very simple service again. The service, very similar to private VLAN, the service is charged to the member who orders the closed user group. And anybody who wants to join it just has a one-off install fee to join that closed user group at the moment where we set it up. The bandwidth for the different members doesn't need to be necessarily the same for everybody. That's, again, different use cases might have different needs, where some members want to join a specific closed user group at a lower bandwidth, depending on what service the owner of it wants to provide over it. It is just limited that the maximum bandwidth is defined by the owner of the closed user group, and it's basically defined by the bandwidth of the initial service that he orders the closed user group with. So very, very straightforward, nothing really complicated about it, and we hope, and we have already seen a number of use cases where both of these or combination of these services can help you to get basically more out of your LINX port and use it for all kind of connectivity needs. Just for those, let me see if this is going to work. The way you can order these, hopefully you see my browser screen now. You can simply go to portal. You have two options to, for this one is point-to-point private VLAN, and the other one is closed user group. They're very, very simple order forms. At the moment, that's available on one, but we'll expand that to other fabrics over the time. You give it a name. That name is the service that you want to internally use for it, to make it easy for you to recognize it. You will show it in your list of services. It will show up on the invoice with that name. So especially useful if you have more than one of these services. You define the bandwidth in megs or in gigs. Your details, obviously, you choose if you would have ports. What we call multi-service port is basically a port that we have already converted into trunk.1q enabled port. So you will either see these ports here. If not, you can convert one of your existing ports. It will show you a list of the ports that you have. You can choose which one you want to convert, or you can order a new port specifically for this service. And you indicate the VLAN ID that you want to use. As this is a private VLAN, point-to-point link, you also tell us the member at the other end, so member B, who that is, and you submit the order. What then's going to happen, the NOC is going to pick that up and is going to get in contact with member B, check which port he wants to use, if he wants to use the same VLAN ID or if he wants a different VLAN ID for it. And if the other member is okay with it, we establish the service, and that's all there is. So we over time we'll make these services kind of self-provisioning, but at the moment it's a manual process, gets picked up by the NOC, and the NOC pushes the configuration out to the network, but again in a very short time frame. Closed user group, very, very similar, simple to do. There is two actions that are needed. You can either order a new closed user group, which is the one who owns it is going to use this same thing. You provide a name, you provide a contact address for what we call authorizer, which is the person that we are going to contact if somebody else wants to join your closed user group. You set the bandwidth, and as I mentioned before, the bandwidth defines at the same time the highest bandwidth that anybody else can join this MAC address. By default, and I mentioned this, so they're MAC ACL protected, so one MAC address, but you can disable that and you will have a higher limit. And same as for private VLAN, you either choose an existing port, you convert a port, or you order a new port and you provide with the VLAN address. Anybody who wants to join, and you get charged for this service as soon as we establish it. Anybody who wants to join, so if it's a service that you're offering, we have members who offer DDoS mitigation type services across closed user groups and so on. There's a whole series of use cases. You just tell your customer, if he's a LINX member, to go to his portal, ask him to join an existing closed user group. You're hopefully giving him the name, but we'll be able to find them. If you, worst case, you tell us the member. You set the bandwidth that you want to connect at, and same as on all of the others, you choose the port where you want it to be delivered. Or if you want a new port for this, and you tell us the VLAN ID that you want to use. Very simple, very straightforward. Go back to the slides. You will get access to all the usual things that you would expect. So you will see these services on On the portal, you will see the stats for the services. I picked an example here of a member who has a multi-service port. Yes, his default peering interface. So this was an existing port that got converted. And in this case, he has a private VLAN using VLAN ID 221. And what's hidden here is the name that is chosen by that member for that private VLAN. So all straightforward, simple to order, hopefully simple to use, quick to set up in any case. Pricing, quite straightforward. So pricing is kind of divided in bands based on the bandwidth. They have an install fee, and that's the same install fee that you would get charged if you want to join an existing closed user group. And then it's a bandwidth defined monthly recurring fee. And the service, same as LINX peering service, they just have a 1 month term. And that's pretty much it. Just a quick overview of private VLAN closed user group, just about 10 minutes that I had. As I mentioned, we're working on other products which underneath use the same technology. We're working with a number of members and non-members on an altnet related product, and we'll hopefully have much more to talk about that one in the very near future. That's all I have. Any questions? Contact me offline or at any time really, or any other member of staff. And that's what I have.
Thank you very much indeed, Mike. As I say, we'll because of the time, we'll move on from that particular talk. But if you've got some comments you want to put to Mike, we can pick that up if you just send us.